Hello everyone, Darko2012 here with Global Government News, and today is June 16th, 2010, and I'm reading two articles on the unemployment situation in both the UK and the US. This first story comes from the Mail Online out of the UK, and it's titled, Welcome to Part-Time Britain. Record 7.8 million workers are not full-time thanks to lack of jobs. Part-time work is at a record high of 7.8. Economically inactive rise 29,000. Says now 21% of working age are not in a job. Youth unemployment is up 11,000 to 926,000. So almost from 11,000 to what they're a million. Says record numbers of Britons are being forced to work part-time in a desperate move which cripples their finances, official figures revealed yesterday. And of course, yeah, that's called austerity, and that's what we keep hearing about, being frugal, being austere. Experts said the recession has triggered a new phenomenon, part-time Britain, and warns the situation will get even worse as the government takes the axe to the public sector. And I didn't just do it, but 2 days ago I posted Global Government News videos, and in there I talked about the gutting of social programs by the federal government and state government as part of this process of collapsing the economy or restructuring, which is what we're going through. It's a restructuring of our economy where all the wealth that we accumulated through somewhat free markets, not really ever really free, but just through capitalism and through competition, what the UK and what especially the US have produced, the amount of wealth and standards of living that has been raised over the past half a century has just been enormous. And so now all those programs that were either kind of forced on us or just came about for whatever reasons, they're going to be gone. And like I said in my last videos on the show, I was saying that how you'll notice that national defense funds, which is 80% of our total taxes that go towards funding, and that goes towards war. It goes towards killing people and enslaving them and occupying them and forcing democracy on them, and that's what it's all about. So it's no surprise that they said that they're going to be axing the public sector. So just and when I was making videos last year in the summer when I first started, I was definitely talking about this, about gutting programs, because if you look up on the internet about the IMF riot, there's a step-by-step of how the IMF puts a country into receivership, where they basically go bankrupt. They can no longer pay their bills. They can't force taxes on people because they don't have any jobs to pay it. And so they start fixing up and taking all the money, which doesn't really exist. It's all just on the backs of people who aren't even born yet, and they just take all that money and that debt, and then they just invest it into the public infrastructure. And then when the country basically defaults and all that, they go in there and they buy it all up. It's nice and fixed up. They privatize it. They get it on the cheap, almost free, and then they jack up the rates. And that's exactly what we're going through right now. So. But yeah, it's just to stick with this unemployment and cover the other story. It says there is now 7.8 million part-time workers, the largest ever number since the records began more than a quarter of a century ago. Many are working part-time out of choice, typically parents with young children, but who are approaching or past retirement. But it says, but soaring numbers are being forced into part-time work because there is nothing else available, and they have no choice but to accept the only job they could find, which is true. Because me, myself, I'm unemployed, and I've been looking for work for 6 months now. And the only work that you can get is either government or healthcare, and that's not really what I'm looking for. So, but either way, it's very hard to find a job, especially if you're like one of my good friends. They're all tradesmen, and they work with the unions here in the Midwest. and they've been out of work for almost at this fall will be about 2 years out of work. So exactly with about 2008, it's right on line with that. So yeah, part-time work is what you're going to get, and yeah, this is the restructuring. And when this happens, when everything that I just explained happens, and they do gut or when unemployment does hit the real unemployment rate, which is at 17%, when that doubles and we're at around 30%, and there's not enough people paying into the pot, right? And the pot is already, there's nothing in there. It's already spent for the next 200 years. It's already, the money's already gone. But it just gives you kind of a picture of how this system really operates and why it isn't sustainable. But yeah, once the checks stop coming and people that are unemployed can't find jobs, that's what all these disaster drills are for. That's what the FEMA coffins are for. And that's what all those cameras that have gone up around the expressway and that are up for. And that's why they've militarized most of our police force, local and state. And that's why they've taken our state guard, which is supposed to be our militia for the state, and nationalized them. Now they're National Guard. And now they're not just national soldiers, they're global soldiers. Like my brother who just got back from Iraq for the second time, or Afghanistan, or Syria, I think it was this time. But he's done, and he fulfilled his obligation. But he was a global soldier. He went from being the state militia, state guard, to being over fighting and occupying fields in Afghanistan. So it's, see how ridiculous it is. But yeah, those are the jobs that are available. And when unemployment gets high enough, and when the people finally realize that the economy isn't going to get better and that the government isn't going to really do anything, and they start gutting all those programs, be ready for the quote word national emergency, because that's what it will be coming, right? That's when people start taking to the streets or doing whatever they're going to do, because you got what do the elites call them? They call them useless eaters, and that's where population control and eugenics comes in. So this is all planned. This is all part of the program, and for all of you that are awake to this, it's just kind of like a scary movie, really. It is to me. So, especially when I'm like one of those people. So, but this second story, briefly, just says jobless aid bill hits deficit wall in Senate. And yeah, basically the government over here in the United States is just, they want to try to create jobs by spending a shitload of money. It says President Barack Obama's plea for more stimulus spending as insurance against a double-dip recession hit a roadblock in the Senate on Wednesday, the victim of election year anxiety over huge deficits. And of course, they keep talking about this double-dip recession. I keep hearing it on the radio and that, and that's for all the suckers that actually believe that there's a recovery that's coming. So they're telling them, oh, it's a double-dip recession, before they were saying, oh, it's right around the corner. Recovery's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. And then now they're talking about double-dip recession 2 years later. So, yeah, we're right on track for martial law in the camps. So, says the swing towards frugality, the swing towards frugality runs counter to the advice of economists who support the bill's funding for additional jobless benefits and help to states to avoid layoffs in public service jobs. They fear that the economy could slip back into recession, and so there you go. And I don't have any problem with with the unemployment jobless benefits and all that, dude. But they're talking, this is for businesses and family tax breaks and Medicare payments, and this isn't about unemployment benefits, but they always throw that in there. That's how these assholes really pass legislation. 90% of it is bullshit, and the other 10%, they dingle out something that is actually a social program that's good and helps people survive, and they put that in there. But thank you for checking this out, and have a good day.